the technology, the fact that we can do these hyper realistic videos is fascinating, but also I feel like we are so cooked, and I feel for my parents, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm scared about now. I'm like, man, we're young enough, hopefully, that we can tell when something is slightly off, and we can like use that extra brain power to be like, okay, this might not be real. I feel bad for our parents where they're just so used to seeing videos, and any video they see is real.
And it's so realistic looking.
Exactly. And they might not take the extra half second or 1 second or even think about that this might be fake. So that's what scares me about all of this, is that like, are we cooked? Are we in 3 years? Is everything just gonna like, is nothing gonna be believable anymore?
All right, welcome to another episode of Not Investment Advice. You got Bilal Zaidi, and today a special guest, Zaid Admani, my Pakistani brother. Thanks for tagging in today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I appreciate you having me on the show. Love the show, big fan. So it's an honor to come back on.
No, you are legitimate NIA OG. I know that's how we originally connected. Was you've been listening to the show, we saw you, and we were like, wait a minute, we've seen this guy's name. Look you up. You've got several 100,000 followers on TikTok doing these crazy videos. So I'm sure a lot of people already have seen your stuff. We'll talk more about that later. But you also have a show, The Rundown Daily Show, talking about all the stuff we talk about as well. So you've been on the show with Trung as well. So Trung is traveling this week, and Jack, unfortunately, is having like a last minute launch emergency stuff. So we tagged you in. So we appreciate it, man. But yeah, we're going to cover all the usual topics, lots of AI stuff today. Let's let people know. I want to get your take on this Sora stuff, man. I mean, I don't know if you've been addicted to the TikTok-like app already, but there's a lot of slop in there, but also honestly some bangers. Let's be honest. I'm going to pull up a few of those. Want to get your take. We're also going to talk about all the launches in AI commerce. Was announced. ChatGPT launches with Etsy, Shopify. You can do things like create a Canva, or they're talking about that idea of you make a Canva for me, book a hotel for me, that sort of stuff, instant checkout. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the deals, man, because this is kind of what's keeping the train going, is all these ridiculous deals. So I want to get your take on, there was AMD, there's an xAI Nvidia deal announced this morning. Also for people, we normally record on Tuesday. Today is Wednesday, October 8th. We'll probably get it out today. So this is fresh off the presses. And maybe if we get time, we'll talk about the Debasement Trade and Polymarket. But Zaid, let's start, man, with the commerce. And actually, no, let's go Sora, man. Let's you been playing with the Sora app? What is going on with that?
So I still don't have access, and truthfully, I've been like avoiding it. I'm like, I don't want to get on Sora and then have another addiction. So I've been avoiding the actual app itself. But I've seen the videos on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. They're everywhere. And you're right, man. It's like in the beginning, I'll be honest, I wanted to hate it so bad. I was like, I don't want this AI slop in my feed. I don't want none of this. You know, as a content creator myself, I'm like, I don't want this coming. This is terrible. But after seeing some of the creative outputs, I'm like, this is actually pretty funny.
Oh, it's that's what we said that on the pod last week, because I think Meta launched Vibes.
Yeah, I mean, Vibes,
all of this is just such it all sounds so ridiculous when I'm saying it out loud. But it's the equivalent. So it's AI generated videos. I can send you an invite if you want it. There's like, you get a few invite codes. You might already have that, but
no, send me an invite if you get a chance. I want to try it now.
It's definitely fun. I'll pull up a few examples of people who haven't seen, I'm sure you've seen on Instagram and stuff. People have been posting these already. But the big thing is the likeness, right? Because the videos, like there's a lot of videos of Sam Altman, obviously, founder of OpenAI.
Absolute bangers. The Sam Altman ones, when I saw those, I'm like, oh, I want to see more of this.
It's crazy. And then I will say it's also quite interesting, because now if you ever see a weird video of Sam Altman, you're just going to assume it's AI, right? So like if he's
totally
caught doing something crazy, he's covered. He's going to be like, this is like,
was
AI
Sam Altman
video.
Actually driving his Ferrari 130 miles an hour, or was that AI? I'm not sure what's going on.
Exactly. All right, let me pull up a few of these videos. One of my favorite Instagram accounts is a guy called Lil Duval. Have you heard of Lil Duval?
Yeah.
He's not far. Well, you're originally from, am I allowed to say where you're from originally?
Yeah, you can say
Pensacola, right?
Yeah. I've been to,
well, you're Pakistani, but grew up in Pensacola.
Exactly.
He's from somewhere in Florida as well. And funny, when we met in person in New York. We went for a nice little dinner, went for a long walk like we do. took you to the Prospect Park, man. That was a good day. Yeah, you mentioned Pensacola, and I was like, wait a minute, I've actually randomly been there for a wedding. I told my missus, and she was laughing because it's kind of like on the border of Alabama, I think, right?
It's like, yeah, exactly.
It's like not many people that look like me and you there. Let's put it like that.
Growing up, not a lot of people like me and you, but it's a beautiful part of the country. Beautiful beaches.
Oh yeah.
It's not as high touristy as like the South Beach area, like Miami area, but it's still really really nice place. I was there this summer, took the family there, so yeah,
There we go.
I still got love for Pensacola.
Love for it. All right, here we go. Here's a couple videos. Can you see my screen here?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right.
Transition. He's off the lip. Full
whole house smell like butter in that box.
Look,
man.
this is Tupac and Biggie at the game.
True.
Look how legit
don't
this
count
looks.
anyway.
Right, so
let's see in the house just like we play. Whole house smell like
all right,
butter
just
in
a
that
little.
box.
That's an easy
Hawking
little.
rolling in, run
Okay,
two.
this one's wild. This is Stephen Hawking.
Pump coming up the wall.
Launching, 420 tail spin attempt.
Okay, we're getting the Zaidi response. Ridiculous. So this is.
Hawking rolling in.
I mean,
Ma'am, I need you to step back from the animal. You realize
this is
it's
a
against the
lady,
ordinance
old
to keep
lady
wildlife
with
like this?
with a bear. You've probably seen this one.
Benny. He's been coming by for 8 winters. I look after him.
Okay,
It's still dangerous. That bear could hurt you or something. Ma'am, I need you.
All right. Here we go.
Hey, what do you do?
You're getting the idea.
I haven't seen
Some
that
days I
one.
pretend to be
Williams.
10 different people before lunch. Other days I just talk to myself until someone laughs, and thankfully they pay me for it. Let's call it professional silliness with a pension plan.
Hey, what do
Okay,
you?
so we get the idea, right? There's lots of these. Okay. Well, this one we got to finish off on this one.
Don't get it twisted. We're
Jake-
doing a little first things first. Moisturize. Tap. Get that
There we
championship
go.
level
All right, I'll
hydration.
stop here because people are going to turn this off. But I will say, Jake Paul, talking of likeness, I don't know if he's given permission for likeness for him. The one that's hit my feed was him in Pakistan speaking perfect Urdu, talking about how the chai was banging. And I was like, man, this is like, if I'm in Pakistan watching this and you recognize this guy's face because he's a famous YouTuber, I'd be like, wow, this guy's really learning the language. You know, you're going to get that in the WhatsApp message from your parents.
Oh, it's
How
probably
long
gotten 50,000 shares already. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, you get the idea. I mean, the quality, obviously most people only listen to this. You can click through on YouTube or on Spotify. You can see the video I just shared. But man, like, just give me a take. Like, how realistic is that? Is it better or worse than you thought hearing the idea of it? And obviously remembering this is the worst it's ever going to be.
Dude, we are so cooked. This is what scares me, This is what scares me about all of this. On one hand, I want to absolutely hate it. On the other hand, I'm like, this technology is really cool. Jake Paul videos and all these videos of old ladies like walking their bears. Like it's entertaining. The Tupac one was crazy. I saw one with Kobe doing a live stream playing 2K. All these are like the technology, the fact that we can do these hyper realistic videos is fascinating. But also I feel like we are so cooked, and I feel for my parents, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm scared about now. I'm like, man, we're young enough, hopefully, that we can tell when something is slightly off, and we can use that extra brain power to be like, okay, this might not be real. I feel bad for our parents where they're just so used to seeing videos, and any video they see is real.
And it's so realistic looking.
Exactly. And they might not take the extra half second or 1 second or even think about that this might be fake. So that's what scares me about all of this, is that are we cooked? Are we in 3 years? Is everything just gonna is nothing gonna be believable anymore?
Well, you've said you listen to the show. You've probably heard us talk about dead internet theory, right? Or you probably heard it in general.
90% of the people are dead, right? Or it's all bots.
Yeah, and it's basically already feels like that. But if you take this to the next level, I mean, that was my take last week, is that they're going to put it in a separate app, but slowly it comes to the other apps. Like, people are already downloading those, putting them into TikTok, Instagram. I will say the smart launch for them, they had was it not copyright infringement?
Yeah.
Likeness. So there's a word for it. I forgot.
Yeah, there was no copyright, so you can make videos of Pikachu and
Exactly.
like Mario. It was just everywhere.
I did try doing one a few days ago that was already getting flagged. So I think they had to turn a lot of it off. But man, I was actually getting really quite excited, honestly. When I started, I actually used ChatGPT to say, give me a few prompts first, like just to get me going. I put it over, and then I was like, man, I can do like a street ball with Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan in the West Fourth, like outdoor courts. And then you got Tupac, Biggie coming in and freestyling. Like, you can just get really creative with it. obviously it's just like that one didn't work because because of likeness thing. But the hack is you basically say inspired by 90s GOAT, basketball player or something like that.
And it automatically generates that.
Yeah, and now it won't look exactly like them, but you kind of get the idea. The other ones are more generic that I thought were quite good. I saw another one which was like roadmen taking over the UK Parliament, which, if people who don't know, roadmen are like the UK, London kind of hood-looking guys rapping in the Parliament, and that was quite funny. Like, it looked quite realistic as well. So yeah, you're getting a few of these. Like, it sounds stupid, and then when you watch it, you're like, oh, I get it. If it's funny, it kind of hits. So I definitely think this is week 1. Give this even 4 weeks. I think there's going to be a lot of like creative stuff that's put out there.
But now that they've closed down the copyright copyright features, and you can't make videos of SpongeBob anymore. Do you think this will have longevity? Because remember when OpenAI did the image generation thing, there was all these what's that, Project Ghibli kind of video photos Ghibli, everywhere. For like 2 weeks, everyone was talking about this is going to change the world, this and that, and then like no one talks about it anymore.
Oh, you're right. You're right. That's a good point.
Is the same thing going to happen with these AI kind of videos? I remember when VO3 dropped from Google, people were doing these like vlogs of stormtroopers, and they were going viral, and it was all AI generated. Now no one really talks about that either. So I don't know if this is just like just another viral trend, and then everyone's going to forget about it in 2 to 3 weeks, or if this actually has sticking power. Because I don't know. I'm still not sure. I guess we'll see in a couple weeks.
No, you're right. No, I think both can be kind of true. I think it is definitely just like the initial hype, but a lot of this stuff is people try it out. Like, I'd say like 98% of people who are trying it out probably won't use it in like a month from now.
Yeah.
But then there's enough of a tool there for the people who then go and create stuff. So honestly, it's the same arc as someone like you who's a creator, right? Like, how many people tried making a TikTok video or Instagram, posted on Instagram? 98% of them churn out. And then there's 2 who are like got a talent for it. They're really good at prompting. They're imaginative, and they start actually using this and finding ways that it works. So I agree though. You're right. It's not like everyone's going to be there just banging out Kobe videos, especially if now even me, like using it for a day or 2, the initial reason I did it was just to see how it works, obviously. And after you get like 4 or 5 copyright infringement hits, I'm like, okay, this is kind of annoying. I'm going to get on with my day now. So yeah, maybe there'll be a lot of churn for that. But yeah, would love to hear who's been playing with it, who listening, if you've been playing around with the app. What's it like for you? But yeah, I would say like the actual videos are way better than I imagined. And Jack isn't here today, but he did say originally he was like, yeah, I thought it was gonna be crap, but then within a day he's like, no, this is actually some bangers in here.
I think that was the biggest shocker that made everything go viral. Everyone's like, okay, we've seen these AI videos, but when you see how good they are, like, it's not Will Smith eating spaghetti anymore. It is very, very realistic, and it's people that you recognize. And I think it was that element of it that made it go super viral. That's why it's the #1 app on the App Store. But I think the bigger question here, though, is like the fact that OpenAI is even doing this shows you that they really need revenue, right? They need revenue, and they're not gonna be able to like survive off of like the subscription business model.
Or
and
circular deals, is that what?
Or circular deals, which we're probably talking about. Deals. So this is like another case that like they need to figure out how to make money. And what's the easiest way to make money is social media, right? Like Meta makes tens of billions of dollars, YouTube as well. So like if you can make money through social media, then that can fund whatever their bigger ambitions are of super intelligence or returning money to investors. So that's the other interesting case here, is that like OpenAI is looking for another revenue stream outside of people paying for ChatGPT Plus.
No, that's a good point. And that kind of brings us into the next topic around them trying to be like the operating system of the internet. But actually, just before we do that, as you are a creator yourself, I'm curious to get your take on that idea of your likeness being used. So let's say someone was using your likeness. I know you're not Jake Paul or, Tupac, obviously. But if someone started creating videos of you and using it, I'll give you 2 scenarios. You tell me what you think. One is just, okay, they're actually creating videos that are quite entertaining and make you look good. And it just 10 or 100x's your reach. So more people are seeing you, and you basically, your reach is improved dramatically. second scenario is obviously anything goes. So you could be doing all sorts of crazy stuff in those, and you don't want that. That's probably an obvious answer. You don't want that to happen. The third one is if, like AdSense on YouTube, OpenAI allow you to log in and verify your face. And this is coming to something we've talked about on the show before, another company that Sam Altman
company, yeah,
launched, World. Like, imagine you're earning for your likeness. This is me I just wrote this in the notes when I was watching the videos, because I was thinking right now, most people don't want that. But if let's say you're not Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, that's like A-list, they're a premium face, right? But then you've got in more ways than one. But let's say you're like a B-list or C-list celebrity. You're on Love Island season 17 or something like that. And you're kind of you got your 10K followers, or you got like 100K followers. But now all of a sudden people are starting to use your face, and you start getting a check every month. How would you feel about that, for extrapolating outside of just you?
Me, again, I don't think I would be okay with that, but I think if you're like a smaller creator, yeah, this is a great opportunity. Forget the money, just to increase your reach, right? Like if someone can take your likeness and you kind of build a brand around, like, hey, take my likeness, make whatever kind of videos you want, just go for it. It's open. It could be a way to increase your reach and influence, or recognizability, if that's a word, and gain more followers that way. Just forget the money part. You can just get a bigger audience, and a bigger audience you can monetize down the line. For me, not cool with it. I wouldn't want that. It's just too risky for me. I don't want people making videos of me getting arrested and whatever else they make out on Sora. But I can see that for other creators, and they're just like, hey, they want the audience to have fun with it, and they open it up, and it could 10x their reach and potential followers as well. Yeah.
No, I remember when I logged in, I was just browsing around. They actually have a screen for, like, essentially give us permission to use your likeness. I can't remember exactly. I was kind of late at night I was doing this, so it's kind of hazy for me, but I'm pretty sure that's what they're allowing already. So again, yeah, let's see how that pans out. Love to get people's take on that. Let's talk about this idea. You said they are trying to find ways to make more money. They're already valued at, is it 500 billion now?
500 billion, yeah.
500 billion, crazy. Just for context, there's only a few companies in the world that are trillion plus. They're obviously the most valuable private company in the world right now. What is SpaceX?
I think they are. They
more than
overtook
SpaceX, right?
Yeah.
So either way, obviously they're all the 0.1% of private companies in the world right now. So they launched a bunch of stuff, right? That was in the last week. So they launched commerce in ChatGPT. I'll just pull up this announcement they had here. So they said, Greg Bachman here said, you can now buy products directly in ChatGPT, launch with merchants like Etsy, Shopify, and more coming soon. We also had the Stripe founder, Patrick Collison, say that we have 3 cool announcements today. OpenAI is launching commerce in ChatGPT. Their new instant checkout is powered by Stripe. 2, we're releasing the agentic commerce protocol co-developed by Stripe and OpenAI. 3, Stripe is launching an API for agentic payments called shared payment tokens. Now, look, with all the jargon, I don't even know what half that is, to be honest.
I don't know what that means.
There's a lot of words in there. Agentic commerce protocol. I mean, all jokes aside, I think that's just, there's this idea of like AI agents, doing stuff for you, I'm pretty sure, and commerce protocol. So I'm assuming you can plug into that and use their API to do stuff in your own app and stuff like that. What was your take, man? Because there's so many examples of people trying to say, okay, well, you can go into ChatGPT and book a hotel for yourself, or say go and find, the best price. Here's a criteria. Go and just do it for me. How much of this is just a vision versus something you think you'd actually do?
I mean, I don't think I would want any AI to book anything for me, right? I'm like picky when it comes to that stuff. I'm like double, triple checking everything, making sure I got the right seats, the right kind of hotel room. I'm not trying to, I wouldn't want AI to do that for me. But clearly what OpenAI is banking on is that people use ChatGPT for literally everything in their lives, right? It's like the new operating system. I read a piece on Stratechery from Ben Thompson. Shout out to Ben Thompson, that you guys have shouted him out before. He talked about how like this is OpenAI's plan to become like the Windows of like the next generation, whether it's AI or whatever it is. Like that's what they're trying to do. So any app that you're trying to operate, you do it through ChatGPT. Again, I don't know how that's a better experience than just going on, Booking.com or Canva or whatever the case is, and just doing it there. I would need to use it to experience it myself. But for now, I'm like, no, I'm not going to use ChatGPT to like look through real estate listings on Zillow.
Okay, fair. Well, how about this? What if it was one step before and it knew your preferences, it knew you like the ILC in, X row, whatever. It knows you have delta points that you need to maximize, all of that perfect information, let's say. And then it doesn't actually book it for you, but it tees it up for you. And it says, here's the 3 scenarios. I've done the research. I think you would like this one. It's the cheapest price. It gets the ILC. You land at a certain time, etc. Like that's obviously, I don't think it's doing it right now. But if that was the vision, that seems more plausible, no?
Yeah, I guess that seems plausible. I mean, we'll have to see if they can get there. And I think that's what their plan is, to get there. And then from every sale they make, they're going to probably take a cut, right? So that's going to be a revenue for them. So I can see the vision here, and they have a massive user base. So like it's, they get to test it out, and that also incentivizes more and more people, more and more apps to develop for ChatGPT, because they have 800 million weekly active users or some crazy number like that. So they're set up pretty nicely. Because think about it, if you're an app, you're gonna want to get involved. Not only because like it can lead to more customers, but also because it just helps your stock price. I don't know if you noticed this, Bilal. Yeah. OpenAI has turned into like the kingmaker right now. Anytime there's any announcement related to OpenAI, the stock price of that company goes up. So like last week, it was Shopify and Etsy, because of the announcement they're going to be able to buy things on Shopify and Etsy directly through ChatGPT. Both of those stock prices went up. This week it was Booking.com, and I think there was maybe one more that I'm forgetting.
AMD last week.
And then AMD last week, just that deal. I mean, so all of these, anytime a company does any sort of partnership with OpenAI, their stock price goes up, because investors can't invest in OpenAI right now because it's not publicly traded. So they're trying to get a piece of it any way they can.
Trying to get some upside there, yeah.
They're trying to get some upside. So it's like, they're doing a partnership with Etsy, buy Etsy stock. And that's what's causing everything to go up. So OpenAI is just single-handedly lifting up the stock market right now.
No, that's a good point. I will say, when you said about the assistant thing, or like what you would be happy with it doing versus not, I found myself, I know you've probably heard the pods we've done on like how we use AI. I'd love to get your take as well with your specific work that you do. But just one thing I literally did this morning, I was looking at uranium stock. Obviously, that's what you do when you wake up, right? Uranium ETFs. It was an old uranium stock I had in the past, and I'd sold it, and it'd been doing well, so I was getting that FOMO feeling. And what I actually have set up, and I don't necessarily even want to say the name of the site I use at the moment, just because security reasons, but there's a place I track all my accounts, like a net worth tracker essentially. Mm-hmm. And they're really, really good. So I do potentially want to shout them out in the future if you haven't heard of them. I can tell you after if you want. But they have an API that goes to ChatGPT. Okay. I actually, a lot of people wouldn't be comfortable with this. I get it, because now OpenAI has all my financial stuff essentially. But I actually find it so helpful. So for example, I asked it today, you click into that GPT or whatever on the side, and I say, like, based on my portfolio, how could uranium complement what else I've already got in my portfolio? And it knows obviously all the ETFs, all the individual stocks, all my crypto, all the gold, like every single thing I have is in there. So it can start to say, based on what you told me previously, this would be helpful in this way, but I would recommend not doing more than 2%, like whatever. Or you've already got ETFs that are in this Wealthfront account and you're already exposed, like you didn't realize that you're exposed to this. Or like, for example, when the AMD deal happened, I used to have AMD as an individual stock like a long time ago, and I remember selling it. Oh yeah, because I was on this train of like I shouldn't have individual stocks. So but there's lots of them that I did sell that went down significantly. So probably the right thing to do. And I went in there and I was like, I'm not going to look at. I've got so many different accounts. I was like, how have I got exposure to AMD? Estimate based on everything I have, and it'll tell me like, based on this ETF, based on this account, you've got this dollar amount. Like it's really specific, and that is this percentage of your overall portfolio. So I've been using it for stuff like that. It's like a kind of thought partner, and like again, most people don't need to do this, but I just kind of like to use it for that use case. The other big use case I've been doing is a lot of health stuff in the gym.
Yeah.
Like I share screenshots all the time with, here's my Fitbit stuff, here's my Fitness Pal, all the different things I'm working on. It knows kind of what I'm working on right now. So it's just that sort of stuff I find until it starts just working for you, it doesn't really click. But then when it works, you're like, wow, this is so much better than me trying to figure it out myself, you know? So
you're getting me a lot more bullish on this because, yeah, I guess that's true. If it knows everything about you, it can offer better recommendations. It can offer better suggestions and all that stuff. So now you're starting to get me bullish on this. Maybe the $500 billion number is worth it, Bilal.
There we go. There we go. They should have me in the sales team, the partnerships team, making these deals, man. Here we go.
Instead of those awkward videos that they post, they should just have you do it because you're just like, you sold me.
It's also jokes aside though. It's like I'm genuinely surprised myself how useful some of. Also, the other one, real quick, was I did an audit of all the ETFs I have, and if there was an alternative based on lower fees, right? So like there's certain ETFs that like I'm paying 0.4% when there was one available that's 4 times less. And I was able to easily just switch them out. They were like in a retirement account, stuff like that. So it's kind of not, there's definitely pros and cons, and they have all my information, but I'm one of those people that's kind of like, they have my information already. So like, whatever, like, you know, unless someone hacks me, that's the big
Googler
one.
right here, of course.
There we go. Yeah. Yes, pro people giving data away. Well, also now we're on the topic, Zaid, I'm curious, as someone who does a daily podcast, right? Is it 5 or 6 days a week?
Or 7 days a week now.
7 days. That's crazy.
7 days a week.
Because you've got it on the weekend too. You do the breakdowns on the weekend, which is great. All jokes aside, 100%. You go check out the pod. And people, if you like what we talk about, you're gonna like what you talk about. It's 10-15 minutes most days, so it's nice and digestible. Shouldn't replace the NI listening. The share of voice should definitely be in the same. I want you to be in the pie with us, not instead of us. But no, I'm joking around. But curious, how are you using it now, man? Like since even I saw you probably, what was it, like 4 or 5 months ago in the summer sometime? I think.
I was there in June.
Yeah. So what are you using it for? Like, is it writing your scripts? Is it coming up with ideas? You also do the videos on TikTok and Instagram still, right?
Do the videos on TikTok and Instagram. My biggest use case for AI is just as like a thought partner. So even like, you know, when there's like a story, so we do the daily podcast and we cover 2 to 3 stories in that podcast. And it's just I use it as ChatGPT to like help me kind of think through what like the story is, help me kind of really refine my take. I'll have a take, but I'm like, okay, like talk me through this. And so I'll just go back and forth. I don't really have it write my script, maybe like an outline, but I'll still like write most of it. But it's just good to have someone to like think through something. Okay, there's a story about Nvidia investing in xAI. Like, what are some key points I should be aware of? How does this tie into the big picture? And I can just have a back and forth conversation about certain stories, and it helps me kind of refine my take and what I want to tell, what I want to say on the podcast within a 3 to 4 minute, period.
It must save you a lot of time.
Oh, so much time. Yeah, because I'll read one article and then I'll like pull up a lot more articles, and I can kind of like put them all, I can upload them all into like the chat window and be like, okay, these are 5 articles about this topic. Give me 3 to 4 takeaways of this story. And then I'll ask questions like, okay, well, I think that how does this relate to a previous deal that Nvidia might have done? And I'll just kind of ask it questions to kind of refine what I want to say on the podcast.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes I'll be like, hey, generate a draft script that I can use. Scripts like hit or miss, still hit or miss for me. And it just sounds too AI for me. And my whole thing is I want it to be like a very like
it has to be in your voice, right? As well.
Yes. And so I always like rewrite whatever, not always, but most of the time rewrite whatever it generates because it's too like AI sounding. But it's good to have. It's good to have like that starting point, and then from there I can kind of take it to the finish line. So it does help. It helps me a lot. Yeah.
Are you still using Descript, by the way?
I do use Descript.
I know you've got editors and stuff, but so just for people who don't know, you came on Creator Lab and you did a whole like screen share, and you showed like how you make your videos. Definitely, people should check that out if you're interested in like went
2 years
real
ago.
tactical. Yeah, it's crazy. So definitely worth checking that one out. That's good to know. But yeah, so let's talk about deals in AI, man. We've kind of been teasing this. I'm pulling this up from lickcapital.com, or not .com, on his Twitter. I'm going to share this here. We're not going to explain every part of this, but just gives us a general overview. So the FT put out this map of OpenAI's recent partnership. They've signed $1 trillion in deals this year for a computing power. They're now the most valuable private company at $500 billion valuation. These are insane numbers. And for people who are listening, click over to YouTube to see this. But I'll try to describe what I'm seeing. So it's OpenAI at the top. And you got Broadcom, Google, Amazon, Meta, Anthropic, CoreWeave, Nvidia, obviously, Oracle, Microsoft. I guess they don't even have AMD in here.
This might be an old one.
Might be, yeah, this October 7th, which is a day ago, but he might have taken it from like a week ago, which is kind of crazy because
there's a new graphic on Bloomberg. There's a new one on Bloomberg.
Do you know what? Let me pull that up because I think
if you go to Joe Weisenthal, or maybe Trung has it as well, but they have a new graphic that has the AMD deal and the xAI deal.
Is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the one. All
right, so this is, let me click into this. So hardware or software investment. So yes, OpenAI, $500 billion, Ambience Healthcare, Harvey AI, Anysphere, Microsoft, $3.9 trillion. I'm assuming this is just the value of the companies. Nvidia, $4.5 trillion in the middle. I mean, we're talking about the phrase circular accounting, right? Like circular, like that's one take. The other take is, that's what the good deals are, is that both sides win, right? There's obviously Intel, Oracle, xAI now as well, AMD. So, yeah, I mean, we don't have to break down every single part of this, but people should definitely check out this on Trung's page, obviously. What is your take on this, man? How much of this is circular accounting versus good deal making?
I struggle with this. I go back and forth, honestly. Again, I don't have any... On the surface, I'm like, this is circular accounting. Like, what are we talking about here? Nvidia's paying OpenAI, or investing $100 billion into OpenAI, and they're going to come right back and give them that money to buy chips. That sounds kind of shady. It sounds like a circular accounting kind of deal. Vendor financing is also the term that I've seen used being thrown around. But like, at least you have to give it to Nvidia though for trying to prop up the AI ecosystem as much as they can, right? Because their revenues are real. Nvidia has real revenues and cash. Like they have $100 billion in cash.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do with it. Their cash pile has grown.
Put it somewhere.
They got to put it somewhere. They're doing share buybacks, so investors are happy. But now they're like, what do we do with $100 billion? And they're not like Apple sitting still and doing nothing. They're like, well, let's just use that money to help out our friends at OpenAI, because if OpenAI succeeds, then there's going to be more demand for Nvidia's chips. So they're investing in xAI now with Elon's company. They're just throwing their money around to keep the AI ecosystem as thriving as long as they can. So I don't know. Like I'm like 60-40. I know this is not a good answer. I don't have a hot take on it. I'm 60-40. 60% I'm like, yeah, this is circular financing. This is like something shady. Something's going to stop. And the 40% I'm like, well, this is a smart move by Jensen to make sure that like the ecosystem
train keeps going, basically.
The train keeps growing. Yeah. But
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
But like, what's going to happen? But I think it's all contingent on investors being okay with this. And at some point, these AI companies like OpenAI generating meaningful revenue, right? If OpenAI never generates meaningful revenue from AI, or if Oracle never generates meaningful revenue and profits from AI, then at some point this is going to stop.
Yeah, 100%. Well, did you see the Matt Levine take on the OpenAI AMD partnership? I'm going to pull that up because I think we need to make sure that's captured on the pod here. So, do you want to read it? Do you want to read this out? Or do you want me to read it out? If you don't mind, because it's a little small on my screen. That's fine. Yeah. So Matt Levine, obviously great writer. This was
the GOAT.
OpenAI AMD partnership. How did these negotiations go? Likely, schematically. OpenAI says, we would like 6 gigawatts worth of your chips to do inference. AMD says, terrific. That would be $78 billion. How would you like to pay? OpenAI says, well, we were thinking that we could announce the deal and that would add $78 billion to the value of your company, which should cover it. AMD, ... OpenAI, patiently waiting, ... AMD, no, I'm pretty sure you have to pay for the chips. OpenAI says, why? AMD says, I don't know, it just seems wrong not to. OpenAI says, okay, why don't we pay you cash for the value of the chips and you give us back stock? And when we announce the deal, the stock will go up and we'll get our $78 billion back. Sounds like a good deal to me. AMD says, yeah, I guess that works though. I feel like we should get some of the value. OpenAI says, okay, you can have half. You give us stock worth like $35 billion and you keep the rest. Okay, so again, I want to link to that. Rafa, let's link to this so people can read that because I read that out like Floyd Mayweather, no offense, Floyd. but yeah, so I was reading quick in my head, but yeah, it's probably harder to follow when you're just hearing me read it out.
I hate to like say anything wrong about Matt Levine, but like it is a little bit more complicated than that, right? Like technically, OpenAI is not gonna get the shares of AMD until certain milestones are met. So they have to buy a certain number of chips. The stock price has to get to a certain value. And so like it's not as simple as like, oh, we give you shares and then you buy our chips. It's a little bit more complicated, but like in spirit, it does sound like another one of those like creative deals. And that's my biggest takeaway here is that like anytime I hear these AI deals announced, it's always some sort of creative sort of financial engineering. It's not straight up like, here's $10 billion. Here's chips. It's always like, well, we give you money, you buy our chips, we give you equity, and then you go to Oracle and you use, and it's always just like, it sounds so creative and complicated. It's never straightforward. Yeah.
And I will say in defense of them, it's like, a lot of my, before I did all this sort of stuff was kind of make partnerships I did for a few years and obviously sales at Google before that. A lot of the best deals are just, like win-win-win. It sounds so cliche, but you're really looking at what does everyone want from this situation? Okay, who's got leverage in different ways? How can we leverage both points? And let's find a creative way that everyone kind of wins. I think the reason which is just good deal making, I think the difference here is starting to feel like, well, the whole stock market and, all assets essentially are on this train because of AI, right? Like, it's not just because of AI, it's lots of factors, but AI is leading the charge. Nvidia is the king of the market. Everything, even just in traditional valuation terms, right? S&P is at basically all-time highs with that as well.
Correct.
Or like the last time this happened was 2008, I guess. So, or 99 before the Dotcom crash. Now, I will say direct, just to get that on record, I don't think we're in the same state. Like there's real use cases here. It's not pets.com just promising something. But, there's definitely some frothiness, to put it lightly, right? Like you said, how many people are actually going to use Sora for videos in 10 years from now versus like what the hype of it right now? And does that warrant something being valued at a certain price? That's what it all comes down to. To me, the question of do more people use AI in the future versus today? The answer is 100% yes. It's not even a question to me. The question is, does that warrant the values to be what they are? And similar to, honestly, Elon's companies, like whatever you think of Elon Musk, he's the king of promising something in the future and, to be fair, delivering a lot of it with Tesla especially. That's kind of always my thing. His companies are normally based on a future vision. Like the revenue is not just he's not making like a value stock Warren Buffett style, right? He's saying we're going to make electric cars, or we're going to own space. Like what's the market size of space, right? It's unlimited. Right. What's the market size of electric cars? First of all, was kind of like a certain defined number. And then what do you know? The whole world is actually making electric cars now. So that grew exponentially. But then he switches and says, actually, we're going to do robotics. And we're going to replace all the humans with, not all the humans, but we're going to replace some productivity of humans. And what's the upside of that? Unlimited, right? So I think there's, and interestingly, Twitter is not that. Right? It's one of the deals that you could say he hasn't actually necessarily done a good deal, in air quotes, in valuation terms anyway, because there's there's a direct correlation with other social media sites where you can say, well, they make X amount in revenue from advertising. Why is yours so low? Why is your subscription so low, etc.? So it's interesting to see here where now with Jensen, what they're doing is nowhere near on that same level, but they are just basically finding creative ways to do this. So if you told me a year from now, we're in a recession, the stock market is down 25%, and a lot of it, all of these AI companies got repriced, I wouldn't be surprised. But I've been feeling like that for several years, right? So,
yeah, that's true. That's the thing is like people have been calling for the bubble for over a year now, and we still are just up and to the right.
Or 15, it depends on who you're speaking to, right? So like,
the zero hedge guys are like, oh, we're gonna have a crash any minute. Michael Burry, I mean, these guys have been wrong for half a decade now. But I think the concerning thing about this AI moment right now is even if it's, it's similar to 99, the dot-com crash, but also a little bit different. So the difference is that the companies that are kind of driving it at the top have real businesses, right? Like we know that Amazon, Google, Microsoft, who am I missing here? Meta, they all have like real businesses. Like they're not going away anytime soon, even if AI goes to zero. Nvidia is making real revenue. Their cash flows are up. Like they actually have real money. But some of these other companies, though, they're the ones that are most vulnerable, right? Some of these like neo cloud companies, CoreWeave, Nebius, the one these are popping off right now. They're probably the most vulnerable because they're the ones that are spending billions and billions of dollars building these AI data centers, anticipating the demand, right? So right now there's like a huge demand for all the AI stuff. They're anticipating that's going to increase by 10x over the next 3, 4, 5 years. So they're building all these data centers. That's jacking up everyone's electricity bills. So that there's going to be a backlash for that. And if the AI demand never materializes, then they all get wiped out. And the problem here is that they're spending all this money, all these billions of dollars on infrastructure that's going to be potentially worthless because it's all going towards chips that only have a life of 3 to 5 years, right? Like after that, they're not as useful. They can't run the high-end AI applications. So I think that's the concern compared to other previous bubbles. Everyone refers to the dot-com bubble. Well, in that bubble, we got a ton of fiber laid in the ground, right? And that fiber eventually was used for that became useful. People got connected to the internet. But in the meantime, a lot of companies went bankrupt that laid down that fiber. But the same thing could happen with AI. So the difference is the money's going towards AI chips, and those chips might not be useful in 5 years, unlike the fiber was. And so something that I've talked about on my podcast recently is that, like, hopefully I'm hoping that what this AI infrastructure build out does is increase power generation, because that could be useful for, half a century.
Great point. Yeah, that's it needs to be solved either way, you're saying, right?
That needs to be solved either way. So now all these big tech companies are spending so much money on power, on renewables, nuclear, all that stuff.
Why do you think I was looking at nuclear this morning?
Exactly. So you were ahead of it.
Well, I'm probably late, but yeah, no.
I think that's where the opportunity and like the optimist in me hopes that this all works out to, where it's like, okay, hopefully maybe the AI data centers all are useless, but like all the nuclear plants and all the power, all the renewable plants, all that stuff comes online to power these AI infrastructure, and eventually it ends up powering people's homes, and that results in lower electricity prices for everybody. That's the optimist in me. I don't know if we're going to get there, because building power in the US is just a challenge, but hopefully that's what ends up happening.
Need to take a leaf out of China's book, man. There you go.
They have like 5 dams put up by tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
By the weekend.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, they'll be doing it right now. No, that's a great point. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, I would say also it kind of brings up again, the Elon Musk thing of him going into the government, and again, whatever you think of that, we I'm not a fan of going into all of that sort of stuff. But generally speaking, the thing that came out of it for him was, oh, this is way harder than I thought. Surprise, surprise. And one of the things he said is basically, it's not just him. A lot of people say this, is essentially, if AI doesn't work, we are kind of cooked, right? Like in terms of at a macro level for the economy. And so, as a country, really. And so what their argument is, someone like him, his point of view is, we've got crazy deficits, right? It's record levels, whatever that is, 30 something trillion, I think, right?
Yeah.
And basically, like for a country, you need to grow yourself out of that in some way. That's their point of view. And the only thing that seems to be able to help grow us out of that right now is the productivity gains from the deflationary nature of technology, which has happened for the last 20 years in many ways. Like if you look at the top 10 companies in the world, 7 of them, or in the US anyway, 7 are tech companies, I think, right? Maybe it's even changed since last time I looked at it. So that's what has driven economic growth in both productivity terms and, macro level value associated with it. Now, you can argue if that's actually real growth, or is that speculation, or is that just based on how we're valuing things, whatever. But in terms of like actually being able to support an aging population. Sorry, I'm getting real macro here, but like,
no, this is good.
Yeah, there's going to be more of us at older age who need support from younger people to essentially work. That's been an ongoing problem for a lot of the West for a while, and actually for China too, right? They've got a big demographic problem after they had one-child policy. So this is all to say, AI needs to replace some of our work. That's actually a positive thing. We will have to figure out how people are actually living and earning money, or have their needs taken care of. But if this doesn't work, man, like we are actually cooked. Like in my opinion, like we're already seeing some weird things happening, and we're going to come onto the debasement trade in a minute, which perfectly links us into that topic, which is gold and Bitcoin essentially. But yeah, it does feel like to me, like if you're someone who's read The Fourth Turning, and you followed this world for a while, like, or even Ray Dalio's books and videos around, our boy Ray Dalio.
Dalio's been sounding the alarms for 2 decades. Though.
Exactly, yeah. So this is the sort of stuff that generally, though, macro level, where, what comes after this, what we've got right now, and maybe the answer is it's not a new big thing. It's just an evolution of where we are. Curious to get your take on anything that I said there.
I mean, I don't know. There's just I don't know. I mean, it's all in flux right now. I feel like I change my mind every other day. Some days I'm like, I wake up and, I'm like, I have 2 little kids, a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I'm like, man, are they going to like have jobs, or is AI just going to take our jobs by the time they're in college? What should they even study in college? They'll just like learn to be plumbers, because like that AI can't replace that. So I think about that. I'm like, okay, well, maybe young people are already cooked, because we're seeing data with AI that AI is replacing entry-level jobs already. The unemployment rate for entry-level, for new college grads and entry-level work is just through the roof. So that I think about that. I'm like, that's not good. That's not good for society. I also think about like, well, maybe like the whole impact of AI is just overblown. Maybe like the impact of AI is going to be the same impact that like a spreadsheet had, right? Yeah, it was revolutionary and had a really, it made doing business a lot easier and made people more efficient. But like, did it really fundamentally like that's it though? Like it's going to have the same level of impact that spreadsheets did, which is good, more efficiency, but not like, oh my God, the world's going to end, right? So I don't know. I feel like I change my mind all the time. I don't have a strong take one way or the other. And honestly, sometimes I'm just like, it'll just be nothing. It'll just be like, yeah,
we'll
cool.
Figure
like we'll use
itself
chat.
out.
Yeah. Like we'll use ChatGPT. It'll make our lives a little bit easier. But like, I don't know. Like, what do you think ultimately will have a bigger impact on society 20 years from now? Social media or AI? Because you can make the case that social media has had a way bigger impact on society.
Oh yeah.
And it still currently does than AI.
That's a great point in terms of like consumer side, like in terms of an individual using brain chemistry, like everything.
Brain chemistry, tension. The impact on society, what it's done to politics all over the world, what it's done to people's attention spans, what it's done to like relationships, what it's done to dating, what it's done to everything. I think about like the impact of social media. To me, like that's the huge like thing that's changed everything. Is AI going to have that level of impact or more? I don't know. I don't know. It might not, right? It might not.
No, that's a good point. Well, actually, I've got this saved. I'm going to share my screen for a quick second. You talked about spreadsheets. Did you see this? This was Copilot and Excel is a global financial crisis waiting to happen. Again, for people who are listening, there's 3 cells on Excel, which I'm sure you've all used in your day. 1, 2, and 3, and then in the what you'd normally do is equal sum the above numbers. It says equals Copilot sum the numbers above, and the answer says 15. Obviously, an incorrect number. And so there's a lot of versions of this because I mean, again, like I didn't actually check if this was actually where it shows, to be honest, because it could have just been a completely fake.
Maybe it's just a meme. Yeah,
fake news here. But if it is, I mean, let me come back to the screen. Yeah, I mean, to me, man, that is something that is interesting because, like, even the example I just used with my financial stuff, right? Like, I'm giving a lot of trust in that answer being correct. Like, I know roughly, I ask it once in a while, like, can you confirm this number and make sure the numbers look good? But I'm kind of, once you get in the flow of it, like, that kind of mistake it makes could make a massive issue, right? Like, if you, do it incorrectly. I was actually met this guy last week who's an actuary, right? So old school maths dude. Yeah. And he's predicting, the risk for essentially insurance companies, when are people going to die, or if for him it was like, what's the likelihood of an oil spill and stuff like that. And I was curious to get his take on how do you use, like, not his job in particular, but in general modeling, like, what are you seeing the use of technology impact that? I wasn't even saying AI. I was talking about like coding, because another guy at the table was a trader who he said his job is basically he programs. So he's a trader, but he does algorithmic trading.
He's quants.
He's a quant guy. Yeah. So I was like, based on what he told me, is that something you guys do? And he's like, no, I just use Excel. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I'm actually a massive fan of just use Excel. Look, you can check 100%. It perfectly. You go line by line. It's like writing it out perfectly, right? So, but there's going to be some people using this Copilot, right, to save a step or two. And there's going to be something that breaks. Like, I mean, obviously, in real decision making, you have multiple layers of decisions to check all of this sort of stuff. But I mean, how many jobs are being impacted right now from people using ChatGPT or something with complete incorrect data or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to happen. There's going to be a learning period. And I think that's one reason why, like, a giant corporation might be hesitant to kind of fully let these AI systems do the work. I mean, we saw this with, what was that company? Was it Klarna? Where they, like, fired everybody, replaced them with AI, and they went back and were like, actually, you know what? We actually need people to, like, do some of the work. We can't just have AI do everything. And so if you just look at history, in general, this is the optimist side of me. In general, all technology has resulted in more jobs in history, right? Like, it's always resulted in more jobs. It's resulted in more efficiency, more jobs. So we've never really seen a new technology replace jobs completely. It's always
jobs
additive.
Change a bit, right? Like farming,
jobs change.
100 people, on the field now is 2 with a machine, but those people end up doing something else. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So, like, 2 people on the farm versus 100, the 98 people, they go do other stuff. They went to factories and they went to offices, and then now they're making TikToks.
Yeah.
So and like, I think about it from the profession that I came in. So I used to be a civil engineer. I guess I still technically am. And back in like the 80s and 90s, if you've ever seen like engineering drawings, right? Like, those used to be hand sketched by people. And their whole job, like a whole team full of job, was just to hand sketch engineering drawings. Like, take a ruler and like draw everything to scale and make it all look like an engineering blueprint. Then there's a software called CAD that came out, and it took
computer-aided design, yeah?
Yeah, computer-aided design. And it literally destroyed like the profession of designer that used to hand draw everything. Everything went on computer, so you would have one CAD designer do the job of like 10 hand drafters, right?
Everything is computer, basically, back then.
Yeah. But that actually resulted in more work for engineers, right? Like, because now you can like generate drawings faster, quicker. And so now you have more jobs to do, so it just results in more opportunity, more jobs, increased productivity. So the optimist in me, which I generally am an optimist, is like, yes, AI is going to ultimately result in more jobs, more opportunities, more of that stuff. There might be like a bumpy period in the middle where like I mentioned earlier, like on entry-level jobs might get hit harder than other types of jobs. But ultimately, when this is all said and done, it'll be better for the economy. And I think that's what Elon is hoping too. That's why he thinks that the productivity gains from AI will result in enough economic growth to where the debt will eventually get paid off. We'll see. But I don't know.
Talking of which, Zaid, no, go on.
No.
Finish what you're saying.
I just wanted to say like that. I try to stay as optimistic as I can. I try not to get like all doomer about AI. I don't really believe like the whole super intelligent stuff. Like, super intelligence is going to destroy everything. I'm just like, this is a great tool. It's going to make our lives better. Maybe we're overbuilding. Probably are overbuilding. But, it's going to ultimately make our lives better, hopefully down the line.
No, very well put. And then just last question on that before we move into perfectly transition to the debasement trade here.
Yeah.
Zaid, you mentioned your kids. Are we? Did you say the age? I know what it is, but whatever you want to share.
My daughter is almost 7 and my son just turned 2.
Okay, cool. So with that age in mind, you mentioned like thinking about the kids. So even at this age, how do you, like, are they using, and obviously not, they're not in ChatGPT doing what I'm doing, but I'm saying like curious to hear your take on getting comfortable with technology, I guess. And there's a limit of like, screen time is a big factor, I'm sure. It's very different to creating stuff or learning stuff to use your hands in different ways. I'm just curious, like maybe they're too young for any of this stuff, but
no, my daughter is not too young for that stuff. So like, it's interesting to seeing her like relationship with ChatGPT. So I'll use ChatGPT. I'll use like the voice function on ChatGPT to like ask questions and stuff, especially if I'm like doing like household chores and I need like help with like something. I'll use ChatGPT with that. And she's like, can I just talk to ChatGPT? And I was like, this is like because it's so conversational. And I kind of get scared about that. I'm like, why is she like talking to ChatGPT like it's her friend? So I kind of try to limit that. But, ultimately, like, I do like the normal parent stuff, like limit screen time to like, an hour or so a day and try to focus more on other things like, like make sure she's reading and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I also don't want them to be like completely shut off from technology because they're going to have to live with this stuff. They're going to need to use
all of this. Exactly.
They're going to have to use all this stuff because I have some friends that are like, well, I don't want my kids having a phone. I don't want them to have access to anything. And my take is a little bit the opposite. Like I want them to have access to all this stuff, exposure to all this stuff, hopefully with a guiding hand by my, with a guiding hand right now. So by the time they're older, they know how to like navigate this world. They know like what's good, what's bad, what's AI, what's not. They need to be exposed to this stuff.
What's Tupac in 2025 or 1996? You need to know the difference.
So it's a delicate balance. I try not to overthink it, but it is something that I think about. But like I said, we like growing up, like I don't know, we had access to technology, right? Like I feel like we had the most unfiltered access to technology. I don't know about you, Bilal, but like the internet back in like the late 90s, early 2000s,
GeoCities, man.
GeoCities, yes. But there was all these random Yahoo chat rooms. The internet was a really,
you were
really
12
weird
years
place.
old asking ASL on Yahoo chat. It
was crazy. I remember seeing some of these forums and I'm like, what is this? You don't know who you're talking to. I could have been talking to a 30-year-old man. I don't know. So we had access to like this weird internet, unfiltered internet. I feel like we turned out okay.
No, I get you. Yeah, speak for yourself, Zaid. If I don't know, joking. No, I mean, no, it's a great. No, I think that's a great take. I've asked obviously Trung and Jack. I don't obviously have kids at the moment, but would love to in the future. So it's something I do think about around exposure and yeah, obviously most of my friends have kids too. So when I go and stay with them or see them with their kids, and you see the gradient of or the range, of exposure and I like I said, I don't think it's completely right or wrong. I don't think there's a set rule. I also think every kid is individual, right? So like some of them really like that stuff. Like Jack and I talk about this all the time. Like we would go in the UK, there's a place called Argos, which is like a catalog place. You literally walk in, there's like a massive stack of like pages of products, and you go in and you go to like that section. It's like a directory catalog. And you'd manually write out a thing and you'd buy this thing and they'd deliver it at the front. They don't really have it in the US. And they still have that, I'm pretty sure, but maybe different setup now. And me and him were talking about the first things we bought from there. And I remember buying like an organizer. It was like an electronic organizer. It was before smartphones and stuff. It sounds so geeky, but like you could literally add tasks. And you
like
could
a
do
PDA kind of thing, like one of those.
Yeah, it was, but even smaller and like before that, really, it was kind of like you can use a calculator on it, and there was a certain.
Okay.
It was just like a little hardware device, right? And it was just naturally I liked that stuff, right? And obviously when we all got computers, I'm sure the same as you get a CD writer or rewriter, and then
I had the burner, of
CDs
course,
at school because no one else knew how to use it. And I had some banging mixtapes, you know. So
of course,
that's what I'm. So it's like I do think there's a massive upside, and I would too get exposure. But I do like this divergence of creating stuff versus just consuming. I think both is important. But if you are literally making a mixtape, you're actually like you're curating a playlist. You're learning how to download it legally, you know. So.
Dude,
or
whatever baby.
was going on back in the day. Or honestly, a lot of that was forums too, like because the best music was 100%. Like rapid share, you know, like people put a link on it. So yeah, I do think there's an element of that, and then obviously that leads into making a website for the first time, learning Photoshop, learning Macromedia Flash back in the day, GeoCities, and so I think that definitely helped me in a positive way. But there's other people that went down the wrong chat room and ended up on a list or a documentary, you know. So that is obviously a massive concern. Anything else on that, Zaid? Before I want to ask you about Debasement Trade.
I think we covered a lot.
That was a good divergence. I like that though. All right, Debasement Trade. We're talking about the massive issues of the global economy, Zaid. But here we go. This is from CNBC. They're reporting that there's now a name for this, Zaid. Something we've been talking about a long time on the pod. We obviously had Michael Saylor on the pod, the legendary
legend.
Crazy.
Was it sugar crystals powering your Tesla? Is that what that was?
Yeah. Sugar powered Tesla, exactly. Sugar cube. So this is, I don't know, this was in CNBC. It says the bank defines it as the tweet says, per CNBC reporting, strategy favoring gold and Bitcoin now has a name. JP Morgan analysts are calling it the debasement trade, as in debasing of currency, right? So the bank defines it as a trade that reflects a combination of factors, which in our client conversations range from elevated geopolitical and policy uncertainty to uncertainty about the longer-term inflation backdrop to concerns about debt debasement due to persistently high government deficits across major economies, to concerns about Fed independence, to waning confidence in fiat currencies in certain emerging markets in particular, and to a broader diversification away from the US dollar, right? So that was a lot of words, but essentially inflation, deficits, uncertainty with the government. There's obviously a shutdown of the government right now. The dollar's, 10-15% devaluate, 10% probably this year.
Yeah, 10%.
And to contrast that, gold, Bitcoin, all-time highs, Wednesday, October 8th, this morning. I'm looking at it here.
$4,000 an ounce.
$4,000 an ounce. Bitcoin, 122.7 right now. It went up to 125, went back to the all-time high from about a month ago. Funny question for you. Is ETH or gold hitting 5,000 first? You know, because ETH's been sitting there for a little while. ETH is at 4.4K this morning. But yeah, all jokes aside, I mean, it has been quite wild to see this play out. Gold has been, basically the best performing asset this year, pretty much year to date, up 50%. I think 50%.
Yeah.
And even being Bitcoin, which is about up 35%, beating S&P 500, like all of these things we normally look at. I will say, just a caveat, over a 10-year period, obviously Bitcoin, even 5-year period, Bitcoin is crushing kind of everything. I actually have it on my screen here. I'll share that with you, Zaid. So the debasement trade since COVID in US dollars, is that NASDAQ, right? Is up 160, NDX is NASDAQ, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Is up 165%. SPX is up 1 or 2%. Home price is up 56%. So that is what most people are looking at. They're looking at a retirement account. They're looking at Zillow listing, and they're like, everyone's feeling happy right now, right? Like even I won't say
the homeowners are for sure.
Yeah, and everyone, like people I know, they're like, oh, we might buy another one, like they might buy a second home or something. Gold terms, NASDAQ is only up 7%. in contrast to 165. SPX is down 18%. Home prices are down 37%. Lastly, in Bitcoin terms, Nasdaq is down 78%. SPX is down 84%. Home prices are down 87%. And so I know there's a lot of numbers. It's hard to follow. The summary being the denominator matters here, right? As friend of the pod, Pomp has been saying on CNBC, this is the new hurdle rate. The denominator counts. If you are measuring your money in dollars, things looking good right now. And one of the things I like about that net worth tracker that I use, you can go to the top right and change it from US dollars to euros, pounds, and even gold, Bitcoin, ETH, etc. So I like just once in a while eyeballing that to see, like, am I getting a bit too big for my boots? Am I thinking, oh, everything's up a lot? Like most people look at that and it's probably at record highs, right? For most people, that gives you a sense of confidence and feeling like, well, I might not go into work today, you know, like that. I know a few people who've been sending me texts about that. So curious on your take. I know you follow this world a lot. What's your exposure been to it? What's your feelings on it?
Man, whenever I see the chart of gold, I just get, I was a gold hater, right? I'm kind of like the Warren Buffett school of thought. I'm like, oh, gold is just a dumb metal. Like it doesn't produce revenues, profits. It's just no dividends. Like, why do I buy this? You know, as you know, my mom, you know, like the Dissies, they're like, what are you talking about? You got to be buying gold left and right. They're buying gold all the time.
They're wearing half of it as well at the same time.
You know, when Costco started selling gold bars like a couple years ago, my mom was like, I'm going to Costco buying gold. Like, of course I'm doing this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Why are you buying gold? Obviously, she's up like 50% on that investment. And I'm like just sitting here twiddling my thumbs. You know, it's hard to make sense of everything. Like the fact that gold is going up and the Nasdaq is going up at the same time is kind of crazy, right?
That's a great point because it's normally not the same, right? One is a risk asset, one is something you go to as a safe haven.
Exactly.
Normally,
exactly. So like that, like making sense of that is very confusing. I think a lot of people are paying attention to it now. Ken Griffin, the founder of Citadel, said it yesterday. He's concerned with the rally in gold prices. And I think one of the biggest drivers of gold is central banks all over the world are buying gold now. So I did a deep dive about what's behind the gold rally, and the catalyst really came after 2022. So when Russia invaded Ukraine, a lot of their assets were held in foreign banks, and those got frozen. So when that happened, they couldn't get access to their dollars and euros in banks all over the world. So that was a wake-up call to a lot of countries. They're like, well, we don't want the same thing to happen to us. And so instead of buying dollars and euros and, you know, other currencies, they just started buying gold. So that was a big catalyst of the gold rally. It was back in 2022, and that's just only accelerated. More central banks are just buying more and more gold. So like the central bank of a Middle Eastern country will buy more gold, and it's happening all over the world. So that's been a big, and then that's the other thing. China has been a big player in this as well. They're trying to use gold as a way to reduce the dominance of the U.S. dollar, and so they're buying gold. They're offering to custody gold for other foreign countries in Shanghai. A lot of the gold right now that countries own, they're either stored in New York and London. There's a couple other places as well. So China is trying to be that spot.
Zaid. We don't know if it's really stored here. You know?
Right, they're underground somewhere.
No one's done an audit for a while, it sounds like. But no, all jokes aside. No,
that's what they're telling us.
That's a great summary of that, man. I mean, I will say, like you, I was probably a gold hater for a while. I was not necessarily a hater in the same way, but I didn't really own it, let's say.
Yes.
A year ago, I started buying it up a decent amount just to put it in the portfolio. I was going back and forth with my advisor, aka the AI chat. No, I'd already bought it by that point, by the time I started using it. Honestly, mainly just in case, you know? It's like one of those things. I'm like, I just like to, I think I generally agreed with the sentiment of hard assets, limited supply is something I want to own. So whether that's real estate, gold, obviously Bitcoin for me personally, not investment advice. Those were the three big ones. And the other thing is when I meet people, I meet a lot of like traditional finance people too. Like I have friends who work in traditional finance. They're like, old school CFA fan vibes, you know, before he became a convert in his own way. And I kind of just like to ask, like, what are you seeing, what are you feeling? And I kept getting this feeling from a lot of people, like across the board, like everything seems very frothy, but yeah, there's, I don't know the answer to this. And so, yeah, personally, definitely something I've been happy to keep as a long-term, like counterweight essentially in the portfolio. Personally, definitely not investment advice. It's up 50% this year, so I don't know. I'm assuming it may drop at some point, but who knows. But I do think this idea, I'd love also the response to that first tweet was Michael Saylor responding, "We call it saving our money," which was nice to see. But no,
but Bilal, like, the US dollar is not gonna lose like its reserve. I just don't understand how everyone's like, the US dollar is cooked. Like, sure, inflation is a problem, and it might eat into like the store value of the dollar a little bit, but like it's not gonna lose its reserve status anytime soon.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree, but I also think there's another scenario where it doesn't necessarily have to lose its full, reserve status, and there's a kind of natural shift to alternatives, like it's kind of already happening. Like it's not like US dollars going to like Zimbabwe dollar or whatever.
Yeah,
right? I don't
exactly.
think that at all, obviously. But I do think just having that 10% drop this year with uncertainty, I kind of like the idea of like, I don't mind the way like internet mindshare goes to a more global perspective. I think that's where Bitcoin does play a part. I think gold is just more the traditional type. So whether it's an old school government or if it's an old school wealth investment advisor, like I'll speak to a lot more traditional friends and I ask them about the portfolio when they're happy to share, obviously. And they're like, yeah, I do actually put 2% into Bitcoin. Like I was really surprised hearing that from a lot of people, 2 to 5%. And some of them also had some gold, and a lot of it was their wealth advisors, right? And so that's why I think when someone like JP Morgan is putting a name on it, like a debasement trade, I kind of, that's like these things move really slowly, like mind share and feeling comfortable with certain things. Obviously, people feel comfortable with gold for centuries. That's why it's gold. Bitcoin is obviously not that. And I think it's, there's been a few big moments that have really legitimized and made it this $2 trillion asset class. Like the ETFs was a really big one.
Huge.
You can buy it in your retirement account. All these things like give it a lot of, positive momentum. And so, yeah, I still personally think that like there has been these massive drops for Bitcoin. I think there will probably be some correction at some point, but not like maybe the 80% drops we've had in the past. That's just kind of where I feel like there's enough liquidity there now from this big institutional
there's
buying.
A floor.
Yeah, there's a floor. Hopefully, anyway, we'll see.
Yeah.
Famous last
3 months
words.
later, yeah.
Yeah. When I'm getting my part-time job at McDonald's back. But yeah, Zaid, this has been great, man. Thanks for jumping in today. We didn't really get time to talk about Polymarket. I don't know if you have any thoughts to share off. There was a Polymarket deal announced. They said they announced the Intercontinental Exchange ICE, not that ICE, a different ICE.
Not the other ICE,
The parent company of New York Stock Exchange is making a $2 billion strategic investment at a $9 billion post-money valuation. And I will say, like the banner says, against all odds, phenomenal work from the copywriting team there, man. Or
phenomenal song by Phil Collins.
That's true. But I would just say, any general thoughts on that? Obviously, people who follow the pod know we look at Polymarket all the time, reference it. But there's a famous picture of, I think, the founder or someone early there in a bathroom office, like working on Polymarket when it got banned at one point. Like they have gone through a lot and they've become this massive company. So any thoughts on that, Zaid?
I don't know enough about the inner workings of the deal. I'm actually interested to hear Trung's take on this. Like, what does like the New York Stock Exchange benefit from this investment? Obviously, we know that prediction markets are legit now, right? Like they're here. People look at them to like figure out how to invest now based on odds. People are using them as a way to gamble on sports now. Like prediction markets are fully here. I wonder if this is just a bet by the New York Stock Exchange, or the owner of the New York Stock Exchange, like, okay, we can use this data to help their clients, and maybe prediction markets and the gambling nature of them is going to take some volume away from stock trading. And so they're trying to get a piece of that now. And again, I don't know enough about this. I probably need to learn more. And again, I'm curious to see what Trung has to say about this, because I'm sure he has a lot more information. But yeah, it caught my attention. I'm like, prediction markets are here now. Like, they're legit.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're right, man. It's just like the extension of the gamblification of everything, right? Like, people, and even just in again, more of a macro way, like if you look at, this might be correlation more than causation, but Vegas foot traffic being down so much.
Right.
And
you don't need to go to Vegas. We got Vegas on our phones.
You got Vegas on your phone, man. You know, obviously you don't get everything from Vegas on your phone. Well,
we can get almost everything from Vegas on our phones now.
You can go on and as you said on your pod, you can go and bet on how many times Elon Musk is tweeting today. You know,
that's
like
a legit thing on Polymarket. I could not believe that when I saw it yesterday. I was like, and people are betting on that.
People love it. And then I will say, just all jokes aside, though, it's one of the most accurate ways I find of seeing like political stuff versus like regular polling. Obviously, that's where we've referenced it a lot. It was during the election, even like New York. I'm on the homepage now. New York mayor election. Zoran Mamdani, 87% chance of winning, basically, based on this. And it's just like if I go into, I often will check like sports for like my team, the Premier League, Champions League. And I have an old UK betting account from Betfair, which is actually like really was a two-way prediction market. Like because for a lot of people that don't realize, like it's been legal there for years, right? Like since before it was here. And the big innovation for a lot of these things, it's like a two-way marketplace. Because back in the day, there were bookies. They would take on the risk. You would say, I'm betting on Arsenal to win this weekend. And the bookie would be like, oh, I'll give you odds. And if you win, then I'll pay you out, vice versa. And a lot of these now are two-way marketplaces. So I can bet for and someone can bet against. And so I'm pretty sure that's how Polymarket works too.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, I didn't know there was a two-way market.
Maybe they have like a liquidity part in the middle, kind of like the stock market. That's what it's modeled off. It's like, I want to buy Nvidia stock, someone wants to sell it. And then you've got someone in the middle, a market maker, who says, well, that's why when you go on Robinhood and you put $1,000 into something, you get it straight away. Often is because there's a market maker there just filling your trade, and they're happy to take
providing
that
liquidity.
Exactly. So it's actually interesting, because the interesting thing though, when it's person to person, like Betfair was someone is betting for and someone's betting against, you'll find some odds and you're like, wait a minute, that actually feels way off. And in fact, they're often a little bit different to like these markets. So I've never done it, but you could probably find some inefficiencies. Maybe if you're a smart coding
arbitrage.
Type, yeah, you could probably find some arbitrage. I don't know legalities of that. You should look into that. But there's definitely something there with more liquidity coming to these sort of prediction markets. So, but anyway, we'll leave it there. Zaid, I was about to call you Trung. Sorry. Zaid, thanks for coming on, man. Honestly, really appreciate it. You've been on the show before. Love your pod. Love to see your success, man. You've been killing it. We've been friends for a few years now. And I hope to do more of these in the future. And thanks for jumping in so last minute, man. And I'm sure people appreciate this.
No, that flew by, man. I appreciate you having me on. Again, I'm a big fan of the pod. Listen to almost every episode. So when you sent me that text, I was like, oh, this is my chance. I'm coming on.
Yeah, and you came in a suit looking like a brown Justin Timberlake right now, man. Loving the vibe, man. So it's a little skinny tie. I'm gonna have to step my game up next week. Wear a tux. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. We'll see you guys next week. Let us know what you think of this on YouTube, all the platforms. You can message in Telegram, but I like the comments on YouTube as well, because it kind of keeps it with the episode. And appreciate
that engagement, baby. That engagement.
There you go. Yeah, like and subscribe, as they say. All right, Zaid, appreciate you, man. And I'll see you again here soon when you're here next, man. All right, cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.